Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the Christmas-loving riding of Renfrew-Nipissing Pembroke. Justin Trudeau's proudly socialist Minister of the Environment delivered a lump of coal to Canadians. This week, Minister Guilbeault re-announced the Liberals' radical Soviet-style electric vehicle mandate. Common sense conservatives support choice, not mandates. What the Liberals are proposing is the exact opposite of common sense. It's pure nonsense. The Liberals are not setting a supply quota, they're setting a sales quota. In just 2 years, the Liberals are demanding that 20% of all cars sold in Canada be electric vehicles. Currently, electric vehicles make up less than 10% of the vehicles sold in Canada. Since car companies can't force you to buy an electric car, what do? For one, they can prevent you from buying a gas-powered car. If car companies raise gas-powered car prices and limit inventories, they can reduce the overall number of gas-powered cars sold, which increases the percentage of electric cars sold. As even CBC reported this week, Kia Canada is withholding purchased cars awaiting delivery to ensure they don't exceed their sales targets too much, which would cause the parent company to cut the marketing budget for 2024. It sounds crazy to reasonable people, but that is what happens when governments or companies get the incentives wrong. What made the Soviet communists so dangerous was their arrogance. They believed they knew the best way to grow crops. They rejected what they called capitalist science, or what today's kids now call Western science. They followed their Soviet science on agriculture, and the results were deadly. Over 20 million people starved to death in the Soviet Union, most of them Ukrainians. Over 50 million people starved to death under Mao and the communists who control China. 70 million people. Those are just the deaths from communists trying to command the control of food supply. So when an unrepentant criminal becomes the Minister of the Environment and stands in the House of Commons and declares himself to be proudly socialist, it should be setting alarm bells off in any democracy which values individual liberty and what it has left. While you can't eat a car, many rely upon them to get to the grocery store. Just like every other Justin Trudeau virtue signaling policy, this is designed to make the wealthy elite Liberal voter base happy, while hardworking Canadians pay the price. That's why our leader, Pierre Poilievre, has already promised to scrap this dangerous policy. For over 20 years, the federal government has worked with our two largest trading partners, the US and Mexico, to gradually increase fuel efficiency and decrease harmful emissions. This common sense approach worked. Emissions went down, fuel efficiency went way up. But the price of a car, adjusted for inflation, had been stable. That is until Trudeau began to mess with the market. Now they're passing regulations to make gas-powered cars more expensive. At the same time, they're passing regulations to make electricity more expensive. That's because radical environmentalists hate electric vehicles even more than they hate gas-powered cars. These radical environmentalists advocate for 15-minute cities for the same reason. They don't want people to drive, period. The car is the ultimate symbol of individual liberty. The socialist revolution will not be complete until everyone is dependent on the state. The Liberals are getting more and more desperate every day. They're down in the polls, and their caucus is bitterly divided over support for our only democratic ally in the Middle East. They're clearly worried that they have run out of money to bribe voters with, and they have no real legislative agenda. They've passed their censorship bills. They've passed their bill to destroy private property rights and seize hunting rifles. The only draft laws left are the bills the Liberals couldn't figure out a way to turn into wedge issues. This means the Liberals are desperate and have nothing to do with their time. This resulted in a couple of Liberals doing their best impression of Abbott and Costello. Mark the Double Dipper Garretson and Steve Sidekick McKinnon held a press conference in the foyer of the House of Commons just so they could complain about Pierre Poilievre's end-of-year interviews. If you haven't seen Pierre's interviews, we've put the links in the description. For some reason, the Liberal Brain Trust thought it was a good idea to send these two out in front of reporters to complain that reporters were not asking Pierre the tough questions. Unsurprisingly, sending two arrogant Liberal men out to lib-splain journalism to reporters did not end well. Some of the reporters' questions are hard to hear, so we've put their questions into the captions. Take a look.
Is anything about a specific plan to move Canada forward?
What does it say about the fact that you're holding a press conference to respond to his year-end interviews? I mean, how far back on your heels are you that you feel the need to do that? We haven't seen the Conservatives respond to any of the Prime Minister.
What it says is that we have confidently the lives of Canadians.
What's your issue here? That he did some friendly interviews?
I'm
just confused as to why we're here and why we're listening and doing this.
Mr. Poilievre has spent the last 3 days giving these fuzzy, comfy little interviews in safe spaces for tropes that Mr. Garretson and I listened to and all of you listened to every day for the last 4 months.
Why is he leading in every public opinion poll then? For almost more than almost a year now.
You know what Diefenbaker said, right? Polls are for dogs, and there's going to be...
Point. Are you sort of trying to unroll a new strategy in that the Liberals are trying something new or trying to fight back more against Poilievre? Like,
Listen.
Explain the thinking behind this.
Isn't this what an election campaign is for? Like, pardon me, we're not in a campaign. That's typically when a leader will put out a platform. That's when they detail their policy.
I mean, you would have to ask yourself, isn't the way that Mr. Poilievre acts now and has always been acting, what an election
He revealed his platform in 2013. He revealed it in the 2015 election campaign.
Pardon me?
Justin Trudeau became leader in 2013. Didn't
Right.
reveal a platform then. He revealed it in the,
election
campaign.
But we were certainly talking about our values, and all we're saying is, if you actually stop and listen, as we did, we listened to the 45-minute-long interviews.
On that note, can I just ask you, I mean, you referenced the caucus meeting. This summer was pretty dour for you guys. I think people were acknowledging that on the record. Are you trying to say something's changed, that it's you don't think it's looking as bad as it was 4 months ago?
Why do you think their message is resonating?
Last question. Why do I think their message is resonating? Well, I think that their message is resonating because of what I said earlier.
On first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You know the fellow's names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean, the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
Pierre's links on his end-of-year reviews are the first comment below the Facebook Live. All these Liberals have left is fear-mongering. Our New Year's resolution is to bring back common sense to Canada. We will continue to stay focused on preventing the NDP Liberal government from making life unaffordable. We have a positive plan to keep more of your money in your pocket. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.